Hi everybody, this is Howard, the Teaserking, coming to you with week 8 of college football. Oh, just a huge week. If you've had a chance to look at my other video, I kind of explain how I've kind of come up with the key ingredients to really nail down college, and I've really only had one bad week. Everything else has been extremely hot. I'm hitting the locks. If I do miss one lock, I'm like hitting 3 or 4 locks and missing one. I think last week I lost to Northwestern, but I hit the Western Kentucky, the Georgia Southern, the Michigan State, and so I lost to Northwestern under. So it was like 3 and 1. But that's what I'm doing in college. If I do miss a lock, I'm hitting 3 or 4 other ones. And I advise, and you can see, I don't know if you play my plays exactly or you just take my teams and say, I'll make the teasers on my own, I'll put them in a 4 or 5 team teaser, and that's fine. I'm just putting it as a guideline. Here's what I'm doing, and you can see where I do get a lock. I played in 2 or 3 teasers. That's the only thing I suggest is if I make it a strong play, I would play it in probably 3 teasers, or if you're playing it in 2, you play it like very strong, more units, so it's like a 3-unit play, even though it might only be in 2 teasers. You'll notice my amounts are much higher in the locks, and then I'm bringing up my plays sort of like a strong, medium, and average, medium, and strong, let's say. So I like the team, I play them. I really like the team, I play them for more units, and then I love the team, and I played in a lock for more units and in multiple teasers. So been red hot, matching strength versus weakness and everything else. This week I got 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 12, excuse me, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. I mean, I like 18 college plays, not including another 12 or 13 over-unders. Just an incredible plays. Things are becoming so clear to me. That's why I always say, as I get more into the season, I get even stronger, and it's usually because once you're into the season, you pick up who's hot and who's cold. I'm always looking for the hot team and looking for the cold team, and it's just like Art of War. I attack the weakness and I bet on the strength, and that's what I'm looking at every week. But in the beginning, I don't know who's strong and who's weak. I mean, if you look at these idiots on ESPN or even these football guides that I use, they're just looking at spring practice. They don't really know. It's always Oklahoma, Alabama, USC. They're a bunch of idiots. They have absolutely no idea what to do. They're not looking at they're not analyzing it. They're not going, this is the best coach, and this is the best defense, and this is the best quarterback. As the season goes on, I can quickly spot the good quarterbacks. I can quickly spot who's scoring a lot, and I can quickly spot who's not scoring. And after 3 or 4 games, at the beginning you kind of get to see if some team will play a certain team. Let's say you play Baylor the first week. Baylor throws a 60 on you for 600 yards. Your defense is going to look really bad, but it might not be that bad. So you've got to really hunt into who you've played and then kind of discount it, especially these SMUs and Rices and South Floridas. Because out of conference, they're playing the big boys, and they're going to look bad. But in conference, that's what I always look at. When they play in conference, it's totally different because they're more of an even match. You can play them as dogs, where you can't play them as a dog to Baylor, but you can play them as a dog to South Florida or Connecticut, things like that. So you got to look at who they're playing and everything else. So by now, I've got all that pretty much figured out, and so basically we're looking at week 8, and let's take a look at what's going on. this is a good weekend to really kind of build. And by that I mean you can play the Thursday games, the Friday games, and then the Saturday, and then the Saturday late games. So let's start off Thursday night. Georgia Southern's playing App State. App State's laying 6. I've been keeping an eye on App State, and they're a really good team in conference, playing Georgia Southern, who's a really good team in conference and sometimes out of conference. My strategy is always, when the game's really close and it's a tight game, you take the dog. That's what I did with Michigan State last week. I knew they weren't going to shut out Michigan State. There's no way Michigan was going to shut them out. And I knew State would score in the 20s. And then I said, well, I get 14. That's 34 points. There's no way Michigan scores 34 points. Same thing here. App State, Georgia Southern. I get 6.5. I knock Georgia Southern up to 12. So I say Georgia Southern averages 45 points a game in conference. Excuse me. Georgia Southern averages 45. So does App State. App State's got a very good defense, statistically wise. But when you look at who they played, you look at who Georgia Southern played. Georgia Southern played Western Michigan, who's a very explosive team. App State hasn't played anybody like that. I mean, out of conference, Georgia Southern, I think, got killed by West Virginia, and App State got killed by Georgia or something like that. But in conference, Georgia Southern played that Western Michigan game. App State hasn't. So that's where I'm pulling the stats out going, well, let's look at who they played. I can't say App State's definitely going to beat Georgia Southern, and I can't say Georgia Southern's going to win the game, but we're talking about points and teasers. You get 12 points with Georgia Southern. That's a lot. I mean, they were a dog to Western Michigan, getting 4, teased them up to 10, and they won the game by 40 points. They don't like to be dogs, like I say. The teams know it. They know their role. This game's for first place. It'll be a hard-fought game, probably a little more defense than you're used to. Georgia Southern runs the ball, which is great for these type of games because you just wear out the opponent. Take Georgia Southern plus the 12. Let's go right next door. East Carr's playing Temple. East Carr's laying 3. The stats on this game staggering. East Carr's not a very good home favorite, and Temple's a very good road dog. Temple won at no, they might have beat Penn State at home. They beat Penn State. East Carr, yeah, they looked good against Tulsa last week, but that's Tulsa. That's an offensive team. This is a defensive team. What you have here is 2 very good defenses. I like the under in this game. The over-under is 51. I like it under 57. And I like Temple at 9 for the same reason I like Georgia Southern. You basically have 2 dead-even teams, and I think Temple's better than East Carolina. Based on them beating Penn State, based on them winning at Cincinnati. Temple's a very strong dog. Take Temple in the points. You can tease Georgia Southern with Temple on Thursday, and then you can come back on Friday. There's 2 games, Memphis, Tulsa, and Utah State, San Diego State. And then you can play Saturday, some early games, and then you can play Saturday night. And that's what I'm noticing now. You have these Saturday games at they start at noon, and it's like they're kind of weak teams. Then the 3:30 games are better, and then there's this 8 o'clock game. Then there's this 10:30 game. I'm on the East Coast. When I'm in Vegas, obviously it's different because you're waking up you're getting there at 9 a.m. for the first game, so it's a real long day. But basically, this is a good week. You bang the Thursday. Let's say you play 5 units on it. You come back with maybe 7 units on Friday, and then maybe you go 10 units. As long as you keep winning, play about 10 units on the early games on Saturday that you really like, and then you come back with the Saturday afternoon and then the Saturday night game. I totally recommend buying my locks and my college this week. I have a lock of a college and a pro. I do like the pros. They're not as strong as that one week, but they're pretty strong this week. I have 1 lock so far. I might have another lock in the pros, and I have 3 locks in college. I don't think I'll add more, and these locks are extremely strong in college. So I would definitely recommend getting that. And the college, like I said, that was a bushel for. I just gave you the Thursday college, and then we're, like I said, though, there's multiple. We can play Friday, Saturday, and Saturday afternoon, Saturday night, and you just keep rolling with it. And let's go to the MAC. Toledo laying 14 to UMass. And I've been watching the MAC a little bit more in my strategy. And UMass I thought was a good team, or a good offensive team, but looking at the stats, they're really not doing it. They're getting a lot of offense from Frugenheimer, but they're not scoring a lot of points. They're only averaging 20 points a game. And I know they played Notre Dame and they got 20 on them. But last week they played like nobody. It was a weak MAC team, and they lost. Not only did they lose the game, but they only scored like 15 points. Toledo's been playing awesome. They beat Arkansas. I think they beat another strong opponent, and they're rolling everybody in the MAC. They're laying 14 here. Cut them down to 8. And they're just going to probably pound UMass here. Definitely don't like UMass as strong as I thought they were. So take Toledo -8. Alabama's playing Tennessee in a big game. Alabama's laying 15, over under a 54. This game, I like the under in. Tennessee's got a good defense. They don't have the type of quarterback that's going to hurt them. Alabama's going to play a tight defensive game. This will remind me of the Tennessee-Oklahoma game when it was like 17-17. I like under 60. Alabama should have went under last week. They had 3 pick sixes. That's nothing will kill an under more than a block punt for a touchdown, a kickoff return for a touchdown, or the pick sixes. Again, they happen, but you really don't count on them to happen. You think the game will be pretty normal. The kicks, they'll return for 10, 20 yards, but not all the way. You can have maybe 1 pick six factored in, but not 3. Alabama's a very good under team. Tennessee's a very good under team. They're more of an over team out of conference against certain, the weaker teams. But here at Alabama, definitely go under 60 in this game. Michigan State, Indiana. Michigan State's laying 16. I really like this game. The over 63, cut it down to 57. Michigan State, watching the game last week, Cook looked great, putting up 20. Really, they put up 21 on Michigan. The punt return touchdown at the end, we can't count the offense there. Yeah, I like Michigan State will score in the 40s in this game, but watching Michigan State secondary last week, they were terrible. They wouldn't react to the ball. The guy would throw the pass, the quarterback, and the receiver's running around, and the quarterback's sitting there, and he's watching the receiver, and he never turns for the ball. It should have been that play. Should have been I would have ran it every time. I wouldn't have run the ball once because that secondary couldn't cover anybody. Well, Indiana has a really good quarterback, and they can score. They can't play defense, but they can score. And this is a beautiful over here. State -10, I can't trust them. I think Indiana comes close. State's been playing every game close against Rutgers. This is like against Rutgers. They won, I don't know, 24-21 or 31-28 or something like that. But 57, I think, is very reachable in this game. It's really both teams getting in the 30s, and like I said, I think State gets in the 40s. They're really not running the ball well, but their defense, pass defense, is really weak, and they've been playing a lot of passing teams and over teams. Western Michigan, Central Michigan, Rutgers. These are all good teams who throw the ball well, and their secondary is injured. And I don't think Michigan State's getting their due. They're really a top 4 team when healthy. And all of a sudden, I hear these idiot announcers on ESPN, and please don't listen to them at all about any of the games or their picks. I literally, when they go through their picks, turn it off because I don't want to be influenced at all. They have Phil Steele on there. The guy writes a magazine. He doesn't know how to handicap. Anything, Chris Berman, anybody that gives an analysis on picks, turn it off because it could influence your pick into making a bad pick. They're wrong more than they're right, and why do I want to listen to that garbage? And you shouldn't either. You don't want to be influenced when Lee Corso, plays Team X. They all like Washington over Oregon. You know how much money I made on Oregon last week? I mean, it was a joke. I almost locked it. I thought about locking it. I didn't, but I knew Washington's not going to cover. So basically, you can't listen to these guys. They don't know what they're talking about. They all love Alabama. Alabama could have 5 losses. Oh, they should be in the playoffs. So basically, you can't really even trust them. Please don't listen to them. They're going to skew you. But anyway, so you got Michigan State going over. They're not going to stop Indiana with the secondary. Michigan State will score 40. I believe Indiana gets in the 30s here. Because I don't really see State, they'll get a little bit of sacks, but I don't see it. Their running attack is gone. It's Langford's gone to the Bears, and it's just they're not the same team. So don't go there. Don't lay the 10. Michigan State as a dog's different because they get fired up, and Michigan didn't have the quarterback to really hurt them. I don't know when they play Ohio State, Michigan State, if I'm going to make the same thing because Barrett will hurt them, and they finally got Barrett playing, which they should have had it for a long time. We'll have to see about the point spread there, and if Michigan State gets some of their secondary players back that are injured. But right now, I'm scared against these passing teams, and they're just going to burn Michigan State. So definitely an over because they'll keep up. If Indiana scores 30, they'll score 40. State will win the game. They'll probably win by 10, but it's a better over game. All right. Houston against Central Florida. Houston's laying 21.5. I love Houston here. Houston's on fire. They're beating everybody. UCF's terrible. They have no offense. They're what I've called, and if you listen to the other video, if you didn't, they're a weak under team, meaning they're kind of a weak team. They have a decent defense. They have no offense. You got an explosive Houston team who's not only explosive but has a very good defense. So they're pretty much an over team because they score a lot, but they don't give up a lot of points. I can't play the game over because I can't trust UCF to score. I think Houston wins by 40. They're laying 21 down to 15. Take Houston and lay the 15 points there. Even if it goes to 16, try to keep it under 17 is the magic number. And you'll be fine. UCF's just, I don't think they've won a game this year, and they look terrible. Penn State laying 6.5 to Maryland. I'm liking Penn State here. Check the injuries. I don't know if Hackenberg got injured or not. I think he was a little injured at Ohio State, but I think he'll be fine. As long as everybody's healthy, play Penn State -0.5. Maryland's terrible. Their coach is gone. They're a very weak team. Penn State, this is a game Penn State normally wins. They got a good defense. Maryland's offense isn't going to scare them. Maryland's defense is terrible, and it's a low spread. All Penn State has to do is win. Should be a good win for them. There's another game that I'm eyeballing and I'm wondering what to do with. Texas A&M against Ole Miss. Ole Miss laying 5.5. Over under 66. I don't know what Ole Miss is anymore. I thought they were an over team. They're scoring 60, 70 points. They're putting up 40 on Alabama. They get into Vanderbilt, they score 20. They go to Florida, they score 10. I don't know who they are anymore. But I do know one thing. At home, there's something like 23-3 since 2007. I just checked the stats. Again, it's in a teaser. Here you got them even. Here you got them as a home favorite. A&M's not a great road dog. As you saw against Alabama, they throw 3 pick sixes. I think Mississippi can score enough on A&M, especially at home. The over of 66, I have no idea. A&M, they have a decent defense. Like I said, they threw 3 pick sixes last week to put it over. So you can't really use that as a bearing. You can't say, oh, Ole Miss will get 3 pick sixes. But their quarterback throws a lot of interceptions is the point. So I just think Ole Miss wins this game. I think it'll be somewhat close, but probably by 10 or so. Again, you got them even. Here's a game that I really don't understand. South Florida laying 12 to SMU. I don't get the spread. The spread's way too high. This is where you're paying me the money to analyze this stuff. This is where I come in. SMU is a very explosive team. They score a lot. They're not like last year. Last year they were terrible. They had no offense. They do have an offense this year. Very high scoring offense. South Florida, on the other hand, really doesn't. They scored on Syracuse, which was a thing, but normally they just have this running back, Mac. They have a terrible quarterback. Their defense is okay, but against SMU will light them up. SMU is going to light up anybody in this conference, South Florida. So I think what you have here is, I think you have too high of a point spread. You have a low-scoring team, and basically you get SMU and a teaser getting 18. So I have this kind of explosive team with no defense. But again, when you look at the stats, they're like giving up 40-something points a game, SMU. But in there is Baylor putting up a 70 and TCU putting up a 70. So you've got to kind of take those two out, because this is South Florida, who is not a very explosive offense, who has a decent defense, but not a great. But here's SMU, who's going to score. They're going to throw the ball around. They're going to put up at least 28. You got 18. That gives you 46 points. There's no way South Florida scores 46 points in this game. Take SMU and 18. That's at most, South Florida should be a 6-point favorite here. So you're getting a double teaser kind of. I've got to talk about LSU, Western Kentucky. That's my baby, Western Kentucky. LSU laying 16 to Western Kentucky here. Well, let's analyze the game. You can take Western Kentucky in 22. Western Kentucky's got one of the top 2 or 3 quarterbacks in the country, yards-wise, touchdown-wise, no interceptions. They beat some pretty good teams, not in the caliber of an LSU. Let's look at LSU. They've got a good running back. They got a terrible quarterback. Yeah, Fontenot's going to run for 250 yards here. Give him that. Give him 4 touchdowns and 250s, 28 points. That's about it. I mean, the quarterback's not going to do much. Western Kentucky has a defense to go along with their offense. Again, in conference. Western Kentucky's going to put up at least 35 points in this game. They can throw and they can score, and I don't care who you are. LSU, unless Honey Badger and Patrick Peterson come back, and they probably have a great secondary every year, but the scheme that Western Kentucky runs, it's very hard to stop. And yes, it's LSU, but you're getting 22 in Western Kentucky. They're not going to get shut out. Okay, let's say they put up 21. Let's say Western Kentucky, LSU handles them. Let's say LSU gets up 45-0, which is not going to happen. Western Kentucky's going to, backdoor at the end. So let's say Western Kentucky, give them 21, give them 22 in the spread, is 43 points. LSU will probably score in the 40s. I don't think they're going to get in the 50s here. If they get way up, they pull Fontenot, because it's not a division, it's not a conference game. If it's close, then they keep them in, but it's close. So if they're up 44-0, they pull Fontenot, and Western Kentucky scores a few touchdowns at the end. But I don't see that happening because this isn't New Mexico State, this isn't UTEP, this isn't Rice or one of these really weak not Division II, but weaker teams. This is Western Kentucky, who's undefeated, who's a very, very strong team, who I think the best team, I think they played Louisiana Tech, who's got a very strong defense in the conference, and they pounded, I think they put up 40-some points on them. I got a feeling here Western Kentucky's going to give them all they want. They're going to score in the 30s is my guess. I think they lose maybe 47-35. I think they throw up enough points, but their defense can't stop Fontenot. But if they put 9 in the box and make the guy throw, who knows? I just think that they have too much offense for LSU. And it's a little scary, but I find that I wouldn't put a lot on this game, but I want to talk because I like picking these games. Western Kentucky in 22. As long as you get it over 21, I think it's worth a play. Very small, but again, this is like the Saturday night play, and that's it. So that's about it. Like I said, I have my lock going. I have won 2 locks in college. It's a 3-lock college. It's a 3-team lock, so it's 2 college and a pro, and I'm mixing them up because I want them in 2 teasers for a lot of money. Very strong locks, very strong teams against weak teams. Just really love it. I'm trying to look, maybe one more over-under for you. I think I gave you Alabama on the under. Michigan State over. I'll give you another over. Central Michigan 7.5 over Ball State. Central scores a lot. Ball State can score also. Doesn't have a great defense. Central doesn't have a great defense. They both put up a lot of points. It's only 56. These are the ones I love when they're a 50-some point over under, and you can knock them down to 50. That's what I really like. So take Central Michigan over 50. Just a second, my computer's froze, but I know you can still see me and I'm talking. I guess I'll have to give you one more game. Let's see the last game. I'll give you Duke's playing Virginia Tech. The over-under is 44 in this game. Small. I like this game going under 50. Duke's got a really good defense. Not that strong offense. Virginia Tech, mostly a defensive team. They run a little option, but Duke's very good against that. They pounded Navy and Georgia Tech. Take Duke under 50 in that game. Should be a very low scoring game there. So that's about it. I'll do another 10-11 team teaser, I think, whatever I can muster up here. Alright everybody, well, good luck. www.teaserking.com. I have huge locks going this week. Huge college plays that I did not talk about here. Basically just go and try to buy before Thursday, because I played the Thursday games, and I'll give out games Thursday. So don't buy on Friday for the weekend. You really want to buy like early Thursday to get the Thursday games. Actually, you probably want to buy Wednesday if you're going to buy the locks, because the locks tend to move, the over-unders tend to move, and you really want to get the spreads in as early as possible. So my advice is, if you're buying, try to buy by Wednesday or Tuesday. If you know you're going to buy, probably by Wednesday. And then, because I will, not always, but I will play Thursday games and Fridays and the Saturdays. So it's not like Saturday anymore, where it's just Saturday. Well, anyway, www.teaserking.com. Thanks very much, everybody. Have a great weekend, and let's beat the bookies again.